This video was made by Psychologica for Aqua, an organisation supporting quality and safety within the NHS. It provides background information to support our psychological safety programme for NHS teams, particularly those working under pressure. In this video, we'll explain what psychological safety is, why it's important to teams and team members, what you can do to enhance psychological safety in yourself and your team, and what other resources are available to help you. Sometimes when things are not right, or could be done differently, or pressure is undermining safe practices, we need to speak up, but may be reluctant to do so for fear of repercussions. Psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. In psychologically safe teams, members trust one another and have voice, feeling accepted, respected, and able to express their views. Clearly, when under pressure, stress, when we're feeling anxious or fearful, psychological safety is undermined, and consequently, this can have a negative impact on patient safety, as well as your own health and well-being. So what is it like when we feel unsafe?
It's such a toxic culture here, and I think it undermines patient safety. I'm really regretting taking on this role. The people in my team are determined to overreact to any suggestions or improvements or changes that I have to the way that we do things around here. You know, the gossip amongst each other, they blow things out of proportion. I don't understand why they can't just tell me what is and isn't working and keep it simple. You know, people told me it wouldn't be a walk in the park, but I really wasn't expecting this level of resistance to change. There's quite a few difficult people on the team, and they've been here a long time, too long, some of them, and they feel like they've ruled the roost. Some of them really intimidate me, actually, and I could live without it. Yesterday, I tried to talk to one of the receptionists in the clinic about the way she was speaking to a patient. Instead of taking it on board as I expected that she would, she's been going around telling people I'm an interfering bully and that she's going to make a complaint about me. You know, I'm supposed to be the team leader, but I don't really feel particularly part of the team. Management aren't much better. They want me to sort them all out, but they're not willing to back me with any of my improvements or suggestions. They're not interested in hearing about performance management, and it's really not good enough. I'm torn, really. I'm between a rock and a hard place. I can't win from either direction. There are some good people in the team. You know, I have spoken to people, but they're afraid of speaking out in case the same thing happens to them. You know, I've had confidential conversations, but you don't know who to trust. I don't know if I'll stay around much longer. It's stressful. It's undermining. It's uninspiring. And I've got my career to think about, and that's got to come first.
Clearly, this person does not feel safe and is overwhelmed by the situation. She sees a culture which is toxic and recognises this undermines effective working and patient safety. Her team are mostly set in their ways and resistant to change, or they fear repercussions from speaking up. She doesn't feel supported in her role and is challenged by negative behaviours of others, but is reluctant to challenge herself, especially as this has backfired on her and she's fairly new in role. In such an environment where there is a lack of trust all round, no one feels psychologically safe. So let's unpack what's going on and see how we can understand and address the components of psychological safety. We all have thoughts most of the time, in the forms of attitudes, ideas, and the kind of self-talk which can sometimes undermine us. We all experience emotions. These can be positive, such as compassion, or negative and undermining, such as fear and anger. And we are all acting all of the time in the workplace, and hopefully these actions are based on best practices. However, our thoughts often appear in the form of beliefs, which aren't necessarily accurate and real. In the example, our team leader thinks the culture is unsafe, the team resists her suggestions, and she won't get support from line management. To some extent this may be true, but how much is actual and how much is her own belief? What does the evidence show us? Would her colleagues see things in the same way that she does? Our emotions lead to feelings of all sorts, which sometimes appear to be out of our control. For example, there's little sign of compassion within this team. Much of the emotional interaction appears negative, and those who are positive fear the consequences of challenging colleagues and speaking up. Emotions appear undermined by, but also to undermine, psychological safety. And finally, actions are objective behaviours in the real world, but can be influenced by both feelings and beliefs. And sometimes our actions are based on habits, which aren't always the right ones and sometimes need to be addressed. Clearly we are all doing all of these things all of the time, but how they work together can either support or undermine our sense of psychological safety. For example, our beliefs affect our actions, and these can be determined by a mindset which develops over time. This can become fixed, and teams can develop a mindset in terms of how they approach things, and it's not always the right way and sometimes needs to be challenged. Some of this team appears to have a mindset of resistance, while others anticipate negative consequences in making suggestions or challenging how things are done. Such beliefs can crystallize or fuse into a mindset which determines behavior and can be hard to change. To work effectively together, we need to be able to manage our emotions, regulate them from time to time when things become difficult, in order to continue to act in a positive and supportive way. When there's resistance or conflict in a team, this is usually because some members are not managing to regulate their emotional responses or adapt habitual behaviours to meet new challenges and demands. When we are under stress, we are even less inclined to adapt, and this can undermine our relationships with others. The way that we communicate or express ourselves is termed voice with regard to psychological safety, and this depends upon the beliefs that we hold and the emotions that we are experiencing. Some of us believe we are not entitled to speak up or require permission to do so. In these cases, we regulate our own emotional needs in order to support the demands of others and fail to use our voice. On the other hand, some may use voice excessively, often forcing colleagues to do all the emotional adaptation on their behalf without necessarily realizing the impact they're having on the team. We look at the relationship between voice, emotion regulation and mindset in more detail in other videos in this series, so please check them out. When these are all aligned in a positive way, a sense of trust develops, and where this exists at a team level, we can say that it is psychologically safe. So a psychologically safe team requires the members to be aware of and able to manage these three key determinants. In our example, we've seen that there is a lack of trust in the team, and some work to be done in addressing and balancing these key determinants. Companion videos in this series show us how to do this, but in the meantime, here's a quick checklist you can use to assess your levels of psychological safety and those of your team, for example at the end of a shift. Thoughts. Are your thoughts helpful or undermining? Are they accurate and evidence-based, or merely beliefs? Are there more positive alternative thoughts and beliefs to hold instead? How about mindset? What are the beliefs and attitudes of the team? Are these fixed or flexible? What can you do to develop open-mindedness in the team, or in yourself? Fact. What is the actual quality or safety level of the work that you do? Are you exercising best practice, or does something need to change and improve? Emotion regulation. Are you managing to control your own feelings to support others, and is your team doing the same? How is this affecting you in terms of stress levels? What can be done in the team to keep stress to a minimum? Emotions. How does this make you feel about yourself, your colleagues, or your patients? It's not unusual to develop compassion fatigue and feelings of guilt when we're under extreme pressure, or possibly even anger or resentment towards others. Voice. All this requires some sharing if we're able to establish a sense of psychological safety in the team. Do you speak up? Do you listen to others when they do so and adapt to their needs? Is there a conversation that you need to have now, maybe to nip something in the bud? The aim of the checklist is to see how you and your colleagues are right now, to create a framework for discussion, and to help identify what's needed to get things back on track or to keep them running smoothly. By understanding and enhancing our own psychological safety, we can help our colleagues and limit the spread of anxiety and negativity within the team. So please check the companion videos which explore developing and maintaining resilience when under stress, finding and using our voice effectively, developing and maintaining a positive and open mindset, and managing difficult behaviours and resistance within our team. These can be found along with other support materials on the Aqua Resources page. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the great work that you're doing.